Alright you guys, so this video is a little bit weird for me because I'm not used to doing this, but I'm basically just going to be talking the entire time because there's been a whole lot going on and I feel like I need to update you guys. I always like to keep you in the loop of everything that I'm doing, as you know, so we're going to do that today. So obviously, I'm back from Budapest. Budapest was beautiful. I didn't get to see very much of it, unfortunately, but that's kind of how it always is when you go away for work. Traveling for work is kind of funny because like people think that they all want to travel for work and like get to see the world, but you don't really get to see anything when you're there. Especially in my line of work, we work like 12 to 16 hour days on a regular basis, so if you even have enough energy when you get off of set to go back to your hotel and then go out and get dinner is like an accomplishment in itself. But it was beautiful. I would love to go back to the country one day and spend some actual time there and like just explore and get to see what the country really has to offer. Now we can talk about the obvious. I obviously got to do my first cannon while I was in Budapest. I got to do 2 cannons actually. And I got to do a kicker ramp, which I was like super stoked on, just because I've seen Ken Block do so many kicker ramps in his Gymkhana videos, and that was something that I always wanted to try. I also got to go drifting while I was in Budapest, which was sick and completely unexpected. I did not know that we were going to be doing that. Now let's get into the obvious. Was the cannon difficult? See, this is not a straightforward answer like I would like for it to be. I would love to tell you guys yes or no, but I simply can't do that because there's too much that goes into it. I would love to say yes because essentially you're like strapped to a bomb and you just press a button, but it's not that simple because yes, all you're doing is hitting a button and then the cannon happens and you just go along for a ride, but that's not entirely true either because there's so much more that goes into doing a cannon than just pressing a button. Alvin and I had to start 3 streets back on the day we actually didn't have enough room, so we needed an additional street for lockup, but we weren't able to get that, which means that we had to set our pace way faster, like twice as fast as we were on the rehearsal day. Alvin had to set the speed, and then I was supposed to take my mark off of Alvin. Now my mark had to be perfect or else it was not going to work. The entire stunt was going to be thrown down the drain, but I had to pace so precisely with him, make sure that I was on my mark on his door where I needed to be. Then I had to make sure to swerve out before I actually swerved into him to do the cannon. It was kind of like a little bit of like a pit maneuver kind of deal. And I also had to make sure that I wasn't going to hit the camera car, which was like literally a couple feet in front of us. So I had to make sure that we were going the correct pace. I was going the correct pace, check the camera car, make sure I wasn't going to hit that, make sure I was on my mark with Alvin's door, make sure that I remembered to swerve out and then swerve back in, make sure that nobody was screaming abort, make sure that there were no pedestrians in the street, no animals in the street, no nothing. And then not only did I have to hit Alvin, I had to wait after I hit Alvin. I couldn't just hit Alvin and then hit my button immediately. Alvin had to hit his button first. So I had to swerve out, pit maneuver Alvin, dig into his door, wait for his cannon to go off and anticipate so that mine could go off at the same time. Once you are in the air, once you hit that button, you have to make sure that you do all the stuff in the car that you're supposed to do to keep yourself safe. Another thing that I had to think about before I even pressed the button is to make sure that my thumbs were not inside the steering wheel. You know how people drive like this? You can't drive like this when you're doing car stunts because if you're gonna crash the car, your thumbs are gonna be broken if your thumbs are stuck inside the wheel. So you can't have your thumbs inside the wheel as much as you want to, especially because you're driving one-handed because you have the button in the other hand. Then you hit the button and you don't just go for a ride after that. That is not how it is. You have to press the button, make sure that you snap your hands off the steering wheel as fast as you possibly can, let go of that button, but don't let it go in the car. You have to hold on to it. As soon as something violent starts happening, you automatically want to brace yourself. Like, you cannot brace yourself, you have to relax, or else your body's gonna be super tense and really sore the next day. So you have to remember to relax. So this is all the stuff that you're thinking about in your head. Have to make sure to grab your safety harnesses so that your arms don't go anywhere else inside the car because you can break your arm, break your thumb, your hand, your whatever it is. Make sure that you grab your safety harnesses right away. And then you kind of go for a ride and you try to just kind of hold yourself tucked in a little ball as much as you can so that you don't hit anything.
Okay, you're okay, right? Good job, kid. Good to go, everybody.
So there's all these things that you have to think about when this is happening because everything is so violent and it's just happening so fast. So yeah, pushing a button is easy, but there's all this other stuff that you have to do while you're pushing the button or before you push the button. So yes, the Canon was difficult, even though all you're doing is pushing a button. Now that that's over with, we can talk about drift car stuff. The Z does need a little bit of love. It's drivable, which is good. I'm actually leaving town again in a week and a half, so I plan on driving the car before I leave town, but there are a couple things that I need to go over very desperately. Number one, my vacuum lines are totally wonky and just totally out of whack. My friend Evanor, who's going to come over and do a compression test for me, is going to help me reroute my vacuum lines because they're just kind of all over the place. The 1JZ VVTi doesn't have a lot of ports to put vacuum lines on. And this was my first time building a car, so I just kind of like threw vacuum lines wherever I could, and I was just like, let's just see what works. Just find out what works here. So, that's not good, but it's okay. We're gonna reroute my vacuum lines finally, so I'm super excited for that. Like I told you guys already, the AM gauges finally are wired. So now I have a wideband gauge, boost gauge, and a temperature gauge, so that's great. Super stoked on that. I can keep an eye on my engine regardless of whether my stock gauges go out or not. That's another thing that I have to figure out. I have to figure out why my stock gauges keep blowing fuses. I don't really know why that's happening, so I really need to figure that out because I would like to have my stock gauges just because I just like to have them, okay? I don't want to hear about it's a race car, you shouldn't have to have stock gauges, blah, blah, blah. I like having my stock gauges, so I'm going to have stock gauges if I can. So, I need to figure that out. My friend Evanor is going to do the compression test for me because I don't think that my head gasket is like blown. Like I don't think there's been any catastrophic damage, but there are a couple of signs that have kind of showed me like your head gasket might be blown and you should probably check that out. So I'm just gonna do that because we found water in cylinder 6 in a couple videos ago, if you guys remember that. And then I also replaced this temp sensor the other day, and when I replaced my temp sensor to have my temp gauge wired, I realized that there was no water in the upper radiator hose, so that was exciting. So my engine is just kind of like eating coolant right now, so I really need to check and make sure that my head gasket isn't blown. If the head gasket is blown, that's obviously something I'm going to have to replace, so I'm probably going to have to pull the engine to do that, unfortunately, but I'm crossing my fingers that that is not the case. Another thing is that my blow-off valve is stuck open, so that's exciting. I definitely need to fix that, and that's kind of it. When I get back in town, what I'm planning on doing is finally getting a standalone ECU. I'm going to get some bigger injectors, and I'll probably throw cams in the car and get the car tuned. Really excited to get rid of this map sensor because I know that is a huge issue that I've been dealing with. So lots of upgrades, lots of building, lots of wrenching. But like I said, none of this stuff should take too long. You guys are probably going to be meeting a lot of my friends in these next couple of videos coming up just because they've all offered to help me because they're so freaking awesome and everybody just wants to see me succeed, and I'm really happy and so grateful for them. So you guys probably will be meeting quite a few of my friends in these next couple of videos. I'm really excited for this car. We're just making it better and better every time. So anyways, if you guys have made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Follow me on Instagram if that's something that you want to do, and I will see you guys in the next video.